Setting appropriate boundaries is essential for preserving mental and physical wellness. Stoics advocate for focusing on what is within your control, such as your judgments and decisions, along with its core principles of self-control, rationality, and moral virtue can be applied to help individuals establish and maintain strong emotional, ethical, and personal boundaries. The Stoic perspective can guide you in setting and asserting your boundaries while emphasizing rational and principled responses to boundary challenges. Before we dive into the lesson, make sure you have subscribed to the channel, as this video is of utmost importance, and consider liking the video in order to trigger the algorithm. Number 1. Recognize your limits. Give yourself some time to become aware of your emotional and mental boundaries. When you begin to feel pressured or overburdened, be aware of it and utilize it as a cue to create boundaries. Spend some time reflecting on yourself to learn more about your emotional and mental capabilities. Be truthful with yourself regarding your abilities and limitations. Watch out for the early indications of stress, overwhelm, or emotional weariness. You can recognize when you've reached your limitations by looking out for these warning indicators. Determine the particular circumstances or elements that frequently cause you to exceed your limitations. Knowing your triggers enables you to make appropriate plans and establish boundaries. Knowing and honoring your boundaries is crucial to preserving your general well-being and avoiding burnout. You can live a more balanced and satisfying life by being conscious of your limits and taking the necessary proactive efforts to establish and convey them. Saying no and taking time for yourself when necessary are acceptable. You can make sure you have the strength and capacity to give your all in every aspect of your life by respecting your limits. Number 2, communicate clearly. Be forceful and make sure others understand your boundaries. In a polite and non-confrontational manner, let them know what you are okay with and what you are not. By speaking clearly and confidently, assertively state your requirements and boundaries. Stay away from being confrontational or passive in your communication. Use I phrases. To avoid seeming accusatory or critical, frame your boundaries with I phrases. This strategy puts the emphasis on your needs and feelings, which makes it simpler for others to comprehend. Pick the proper time and location. Choose a suitable time and a private location for your boundary discussion. Avoid discussing delicate subjects in front of others or under pressure. Forging and sustaining good relationships. Honest communication about your limits is essential. It promotes respect and understanding amongst people and enables others to recognize your boundaries. You can create a favorable and balanced environment in your relationships with others by defining and communicating limits in an aggressive and courteous manner. 3. Respect yourself. Recognize that establishing limits is a sign of self-respect. It's acceptable to put your needs and welfare ahead of those of other people at the price of your own mental health. Recognize the worth you possess as a person. Realize that respect and consideration should be shown for you. Be gentle to oneself and refrain from self-criticism by engaging in self-compassion. You should show yourself the same kindness and empathy as you would a friend. Identify your needs. Recognize your needs on an emotional, bodily, and cerebral level. Recognize that attending to these requirements is essential for your general well-being. Never forget that having boundaries is a sign of respect and love for yourself. You give yourself the power to live a more happy and balanced life by respecting your needs and well-being. Respecting oneself enables you to create healthier connections and face obstacles with more assurance and resiliency. Accept the value of self-respect, and you'll discover that it has a good effect on every element of your life. 4th, learn to say no. To practice saying no to requests or obligations that are too much for you to handle. You must decline when required to keep from overextending oneself. Remind yourself that being able to say no doesn't make you uncaring or selfish. It's a good idea to exercise self-preservation and minimize awareness. You may empower yourself to lead a balanced and satisfying life by developing the ability to say no. Accept the power of setting boundaries and don't be scared to put your well-being first. Saying no when it's necessary enables you to concentrate on the things that are actually important to you and fosters relationships that are healthier and more meaningful. You may empower yourself to lead a balanced and satisfying life by developing the ability to say no. Accept the power of setting boundaries and don't be scared to put your well-being first. Saying no when it's necessary enables you to concentrate on the things that are actually important to you and fosters relationships that are healthier and more meaningful. Number 5, set boundaries at work. Establish your working hours in detail and refrain from taking on more work than you can handle. Learn to delegate where you can and ask for assistance from coworkers or superiors when you need it. Establish and adhere to clear working hours. Avoid working long hours and make sure you schedule time for your personal life and self-care. Your availability should be made known to superiors and coworkers. Tell them your contact information and any times you might be unavailable. Be careful not to take on too many activities or projects at once. Set priorities for your workload to prevent overstretching. Number 6, avert overloading your schedule. Be honest about what you can get done in a certain amount of time. Do not overbook yourself, as this could result in decreased productivity and increased stress. Create time and space for self-care activities that encourage relaxation and renewal. This is number 6. Set limits for these hobbies and shield this time from outside demands. Establish and adhere to clear working hours. Avoid working long hours and make sure you schedule time for your personal life and self-care. Your availability should be made known to superiors and coworkers. Tell them your contact information and any times you might be unavailable. Be careful not to take on too many activities or projects at once. Set priorities for your workload to prevent overstretching. Regarding what you can complete in a specific amount of time, be realistic. Do not overbook yourself, as this could result in decreased productivity and increased stress. Long-term performance is improved by prioritizing self-care and fostering a good work environment. Both of these actions improve your general well-being. 7. Understanding the distinction between healthy and unhealthy boundaries. Respecting your needs and those of others is a necessary component of healthy boundaries. A lack of healthy boundaries can result in emotional attachment or entanglement. Maintain a balance that fosters wholesome connections. Recognizing and honoring your own needs, while also taking into account those of others, are essential components of healthy boundaries. It involves striking a balance between taking care of yourself and supporting people around you. The ability to keep your independence and individuality within a partnership is made possible by healthy limits. The independence and identity of each person are valued. There is open and honest communication when there are appropriate boundaries. You can communicate your needs and feelings without worrying about being judged or punished. You can build relationships based on respect, trust, and understanding by learning the difference between healthy and unhealthy limits. In order to foster strong bonds and emotional well-being for both you and others around you, try to find a balance. In many facets of life, healthy boundaries encourage healthier and more satisfying relationships. 8. Don't feel guilty. When you first set boundaries, you could feel guilty, especially if you're accustomed to putting other people's needs before your own. Remind yourself that putting your needs first will enable you to be supportive and present in the long term. Number 9. Regularly reevaluate boundaries. Reevaluate your limits as your circumstances alter to make sure they are still appropriate and supportive of your well-being. Because life is dynamic, things can evolve through time. Think about how these changes might affect your limits as your life changes. Your needs and priorities may change as you develop as a person. Check your boundaries again to make sure they still align with your beliefs and objectives today. Consider past encounters to determine what limits worked well and what changes might enhance forthcoming conversations. Number 10. Look for support. Seek seek assistance from a therapist or counselor if maintaining boundaries becomes a challenge for you. They can offer direction and resources to support you in creating healthy boundaries in various spheres of your life. Therapy can help you become more self-aware, so you can identify your own needs, limitations, and values. For effective boundary setting, self-awareness is essential. You can learn good communication techniques from therapists, which are essential for assertively and respectfully expressing your boundaries. Therapy can assist you in addressing and overcoming internal barriers to setting boundaries, such as guilt or a fear of disagreement. Keep in mind that learning to create boundaries is an important skill that promotes healthy relationships and safeguards your mental well-being. It enables you to develop a sense of equilibrium and guarantees that you have the emotional resources necessary to successfully deal with life's obstacles. Set boundaries that promote your general pleasure and contentment, and don't be afraid to put your health